For thousands of years, most of us have believed that there is only one heaven, a place filled with radiant songs of praise where the Most High reigns. But the reality is far more brutal and terrifying. Hidden beneath the dust of time, 2nd Enoch, a text once removed from official doctrines, reveals a great secret about the place we call heaven. This book recounts an actual journey leading the reader through all 10 completely separate heavens. The higher the journey rises, the more everything moves beyond the boundaries of ordinary imagination. Heaven in Enoch's record appears like a vast architectural structure, divided into regions governed by extremely strict orders. He saw with his own eyes the operating centers that govern all the weather and storms of the earth. He walked along the dark prisons, holding tens of thousands of fallen angels. And when he reached the highest levels, he came face to face with mighty beings standing guard close to the throne of the Creator. Each level of that space preserves its own story, and especially what awaits in the 10th heaven will surely change completely the way you understand the order of the Creator. Right now, we will open those forbidden pages and begin this great journey of discovery. Before we step through the threshold of the first heaven, we must speak about the troubled history of this manuscript. 2nd Enoch, also known as Slavonic Enoch, is not a book that was widely passed from hand to hand. It is a ghost in the world of theology. While 1st Enoch was preserved by the Christian community in Ethiopia for thousands of years, 2nd Enoch suffered the same fate of being exiled from the historical current of the Western world. It was not in Jerusalem. It was not in Rome. It lay silently inside old Slavic manuscripts, buried deep in isolated monasteries across Eastern Europe and Russia. Based on modern linguistic analysis, researchers affirm that this book was composed around the 1st century after Christ. Many scholars believe its original form was written in Greek or Aramaic in Egypt before being translated and surviving uniquely in the form of Old Church Slavonic. The most controversial issue is the author. Like the tradition of many texts from that period, the book was written under the name of Enoch, the legendary figure believed to be the one man who walked with the Creator and was led by him to witness the entire structure of the cosmos. However, scholars classify it as a work of pseudepigrapha, a common writing practice at that time when anonymous authors borrowed the names of holy sages in order to transmit knowledge about creation that they believed had been revealed. For nearly 2 millennia, the Western world had no knowledge of its existence. Only at the end of the 19th century, when scholars began conducting field surveys in the libraries of abandoned monasteries, did they realize with astonishment that they were holding a forgotten treasure. Rediscovering this book was like excavating a black box of the universe. The researchers of that time were truly shocked. They did not find empty prayers. Instead, they faced a detailed blueprint of the 10-level structure of heaven, a vast spatial system so immense that it challenged every official doctrine of the medieval period. There was a reason 2nd Enoch was lost in such an intentional way. Its content was too specific, too detailed, and too direct about powers that human beings were not allowed to touch. It does not describe heaven as a place of rest, but as an operating center of the cosmos, with strict hierarchy and with angelic orders carrying out demanding administrative and military duties. We are holding in our hands a forbidden map of space. And right now, as the dust of time has been shaken away, we will begin to decode the first step of this great blueprint. The first heaven, the headquarters that operates the cosmos. It was the year 987 from the creation of the world, according to the ancient Anno Mundi chronological system. Enoch, the 7th generation descendant from Adam, was entering the 365th year of his life. This number carries extremely deep symbolic meaning, representing a perfect cycle of the sun's orbit. In the middle of a generation, sliding deeper into corruption and violence, he chose to live apart, holding firmly to integrity and an absolute faith in God. He spent his entire life worshiping and obeying the divine laws with complete faithfulness. This pure devotion moved the whole of heaven. The Creator decided to choose Enoch as the first mortal to receive the privilege of witnessing the entire grand blueprint of creation. This historic ascension was sealed and confirmed by a sentence filled with great power in the book of Genesis. Genesis chapter 5, verse 24. The official biblical text records it with great clarity. Enoch walked with God, and then he departed from the human world because the Most High himself directly received him. Genesis closes that line of history at the very moment he steps away. At this exact crossing point, Second Enoch takes over the storyline and reveals the entire earth-shaking process of that ascension. The reward for that steadfast faith came on a quiet night. While Enoch was resting, the space inside the room suddenly changed. Two colossal beings appeared without warning. Second Enoch describes the scene in an overwhelming way. The faces of the angels shone like the noonday sun. Their eyes burned like flaming torches, and streams of radiant fire came forth from their mouths. They wore magnificent garments and had dazzling golden wings. Their extreme majesty immediately caused Enoch to fall face down to the ground in fear. The two messengers delivered a supreme command. Enoch had to immediately set aside every earthly matter in order to begin an unprecedented journey. The moment he finished giving instructions to his family, the two angels spread their mighty wings and lifted him from the ground. The full gravity of the earth was left behind. They tore through the layers of the atmosphere, soaring into the deep black sky at a terrifying speed. The moment he crossed the boundary of the first heaven, every traditional idea of a vague spiritual world immediately shattered. This first level appeared exactly like a massive mechanical headquarters operating the cosmos. The first overwhelming sight that struck Enoch's eyes was a great ocean suspended in the air. This enormous body of water was larger than all the oceans on Earth combined. It was the source of the original hydrosphere, a massive reservoir, maintaining the foundation of life for the entire ecosystem below. Moving deeper into the center of this dimension, Enoch witnessed an extremely strict astronomical management system. He saw 200 high-ranking angels directly controlling the order of the stars, completely stripping away the image of angels leisurely playing harps. They appeared instead as disciplined and diligent cosmic engineers. Each angel was responsible for a specific orbit, overseeing and precisely directing the movement of each constellation. The brilliant night sky that humanity still looks up to is actually being operated by a perfectly designed divine gear system from this very place. The ancient manuscript continues to lead us to other grand architectural structures. Enoch describes them as endless storehouses. There he saw with his own eyes the storage chambers of ice-white snow clouds and morning dew. The angels guarding this area were responsible for measuring and distributing the weather. They operated enormous release valves pouring down upon the human world. Each amount of ice, snow, or mist, according to a ratio calculated with absolute precision. The violent storms and the quiet drops of morning dew on Earth all begin from the strict regulation at the weather control station of the first heaven. This opening level displays the Creator's absolute control over the physical world. Every smallest detail of nature is designed and managed by a vast administrative system. Even so, the astonishment before these weather machines will quickly give way to a chilling sensation. The door of the second heaven is slowly opening, forcing Enoch to step into a region darker and harsher than every limit the human mind can endure. The second heaven, the dark prison holding the fallen ones. Leaving behind the great weather machines of the first heaven, the two messengers steadied their enormous wings and pulled Enoch upward into an entirely different dimension. The gate of the second heaven opened immediately, breathing a bone-piercing coldness into his face. Right at this boundary, all the brilliant light suddenly withdrew, giving way to a thick, heavy darkness that covered every corner. This dimension appeared exactly like a massive prison of the cosmos. There Enoch witnessed an utterly haunting scene in terror. Suspended in the dense blackness were the forms of tens of thousands of angels suffering brutal punishment. Their original radiance had been completely stripped away. Their skin was darkened, withered, and deeply marked by severe torment. Second Enoch confirms the identity of these prisoners with extreme clarity. They are the very army of angels who once rose up against the Creator. The history of the cosmos still bears the memory of the earth-shaking moment on the sacred summit of Mount Hermon. At that very coordinate, a dark covenant was established. Under the command of the two supreme leaders, Samyaza and Azazel, 200 angels from the order of the Grigori, the Watchers allowed earthly desire to swallow their reason. They deliberately broke the sacred boundary, descended to earth, and joined themselves to the women of humanity. Their sin reached its height when they brought forbidden secrets of bloody weapon-making magic and astrology and taught them to mortals, spreading terrible chaos across the earth. Their offspring, the giant race known as the Nephilim, turned the world into a blood-soaked battlefield. This earth-shaking corruption happened in the very age in which Enoch lived. Through pure devotion, Enoch was specially lifted by the Creator into the heavens long before the time of the global cleansing. The entire severe sentence meant to wipe away the dark legacy of the fallen angels was carried out absolutely in the age of Noah, the great-grandson of Enoch. The great flood submerged the entire surface of the earth, erasing those seeds of sin down to the root. The consequence for the rebellion of those chief angels was a sentence of eternal imprisonment. Those who once spread their wings freely and governed the stars are now bound tightly by choking bands of energy, forever suspended in the darkness of the second heaven, waiting for the fire of the final day of judgment. This region constantly echoed with low groans and heartbreaking cries. When they recognized the presence of Enoch, tens of thousands of fallen angels turned their pleading eyes toward him all at once. They cried out, begging him to speak in intercession before the Most High and ask for mercy. O man of the Creator, please intercede for us before him. Standing before that plea, Enoch held firmly to the deepest humility. He understood very clearly that he himself was only a being of flesh and bone. The authority to intervene in the sentence of divine beings stood far beyond the limits of a mortal man. And in that dark prison, Enoch answered them with a historic statement preserved intact in the ancient manuscript. Who am I? Only a mortal man, that I should dare to speak in prayer for angels. Who knows where I am going or what awaits me ahead, and who will pray for me myself? His decisive refusal is a powerful testimony to the solemn order and absolute punishment issued by the Creator. Their sin had crossed beyond the boundary of forgiveness. The scene in the second heaven is truly haunting. It reveals a raw truth. Sacred space does not contain only glory, but also cold, hidden corners reserved for rebellion. The heavy atmosphere and the crying of tens of thousands of beings made a man of flesh and bone like Enoch feel completely suffocated. That weight of pressure urged him to quickly turn away and continue upward with the two messengers toward higher steps. As the darkness and despair of the prison slowly receded behind him, a radiant stream of light began to pour in. The chilling sensation came to an end, giving way to the blazing gate of the third heaven. The third heaven, where the Garden of Eden and the northern abyss exist side by side. After leaving the second heaven, Enoch was led higher by the two angels. In the previous heaven, he had seen a cold and heavy place of confinement reserved for the fallen angels. Their sorrowful faces, their pleas, and the feeling of being left behind in waiting had weighed heavily upon his mind. But when the gate of the third heaven opened, that entire feeling changed immediately. Enoch stepped into a completely different place. Before his eyes was a garden so beautiful that every human language became poor and inadequate. The air there was gentle, sweet, pure, and filled with life. The fragrance from the fruit trees spread everywhere, as though every branch, every flower, and every ripe fruit was breathing out its own scent. This is Eden as described in 2nd Enoch. That garden lies in the third heaven, placed between the boundary of corruption and incorruption. In other words, this is a place that touches two realities at once. It still remains connected to the story of humanity, but it already belongs to an order higher than the world Enoch once knew on earth. In Genesis, Eden is the garden where Adam and Eve once lived before the fall. There were good trees there, rivers, the tree of life, and the nearness of God's presence. But after human beings sinned, they were sent out of the garden, and the way to the tree of life was guarded. By the time we reach 2nd Enoch, that garden appears again in a different setting. Eden has been lifted into the third heaven as a place preserved for the righteous. This left Enoch stunned. It was as though he stood before the perfect prototype of life. Everything on earth was only a faint reflection compared with this place. The trees here were heavy with fruit all year round. Flowers bloomed without ceasing. The fruits released a sweet fragrance. Every part of the garden carried a feeling of fullness, order, and peace. This is the kind of beauty that makes a human being both want to step closer and feel far too small before the holiness of the place. In the middle of the garden, Enoch saw the tree of life. That tree stood at the center, greater than every other tree, more beautiful than everything surrounding it. Its canopy spread wide as though covering the entire garden. The trunk, branches, leaves, and fruit all carried a radiance difficult to describe, like gold, mingled with the red color of fire. It did not seem like an ordinary tree growing from the soil. It seemed like a living mark of the life that God has preserved for those who belong to Him. 2nd Enoch also says that this is the place where the Lord rests when He enters Eden. That detail makes the tree of life the sacred center of the entire third heaven. It is not merely the tree that gives life. It is tied to the presence of the Most High. For that reason, Enoch stood before that tree, as though standing before a great memory of humanity. What Adam once lost, what human beings still long for, and what the righteous are promised to receive in the life to come. From beneath the roots of the tree, streams began to flow out. 2nd Enoch describes them with very unusual images: honey, milk, wine, and pure oil. These streams divide, spread throughout the garden, and then continue toward the region of Eden. This is the way the text describes the fullness of blessing. Milk suggests nourishment. Honey suggests sweetness and abundance. Wine is tied to joy and celebration. Pure oil suggests healing, consecration, and honor. These 4 streams make the garden come alive. They flow through the roots of the tree, through the garden paths, and through the regions of fruit trees. Their sound may have made Enoch feel as though this entire place was being nourished from one single source of life. On earth, human beings must work, sow, harvest, press, store, and preserve. But here, everything flows out like a gift of grace. The Eden of the third heaven becomes the place where life itself pours forth from the very center God has placed there. Around the garden, Enoch saw angels serving. 2nd Enoch says there are 300 radiant angels caring for this place. They guard, serve, and continually lift up praise to the Lord. That image shows that Eden in the third heaven is a place carefully protected. It is reserved for the righteous, but it is also a holy place where everything is preserved within the order of God. Those angels are like guardians of a precious land. They care for the garden. They protect its holiness. They serve before the Lord. They help Enoch understand that this place has been prepared in advance, reserved for a specific group of people. Those who live righteously, who know mercy, who stay away from evil, who judge uprightly, who feed the hungry, who clothe the naked, who lift up the fallen, who help orphans and the wounded. This is a very important point of the third heaven. Eden is not described as a reward for those who are powerful, wealthy, or famous on earth. This place is prepared for those who live rightly before the Lord and treat the weak with kindness. 2nd Enoch places mercy at the center of the reward. The one who enters that place is the one who once lived with righteousness in everyday life. That makes the garden feel closer to human beings. It is not merely a distant place of angels. It is directly connected to the way a person lives on earth. A person who feeds the hungry, a person who clothes the needy, a person who helps orphans, a person who avoids evil, a person who keeps an upright heart before the Lord. Those very ordinary actions in 2nd Enoch are connected to an eternal reward in Eden. Enoch stood before that garden and understood that everything human beings do on earth carries weight. A meal given to the hungry, a garment given to the needy, a word of protection spoken for the oppressed, an upright decision made when there is an opportunity to do wrong. A small action in the eyes of the world can be remembered within the order of God. But the third heaven does not end with the garden. After Enoch saw Eden, the two angels led him toward the north of this heaven. From there, the scene changed suddenly. The gentle beauty of the garden retreated behind him. The fragrance, the fruit trees, the sweet streams, and the songs of the angels were replaced by a heavy, terrifying space filled with pain. Enoch came to a region of punishment. 2nd Enoch describes this place as a terrifying region filled with different punishments. There is burning fire here, ice-cold mist, thirst, trembling, and harsh chains. All of them exist at once, creating a place of extreme torment. The listener can immediately feel the contrast. Only a short distance from the Garden of Blessing, Enoch sees a place reserved for wicked souls. This makes the third heaven a place that is very hard to forget. In one heaven, Enoch sees both reward and punishment. On one side is Eden, with the tree of life fragrance, sweet fruit streams of abundance, and 300 angels serving. On the other side is the northern region, where fire and ice become instruments of judgment together. These two scenes stand beside each other to teach Enoch something very clear: human life on earth is moving toward a real outcome. Whatever a person sows, that person will step into the portion corresponding to the way he has lived. In the northern region, the guardian angels have a terrifying appearance. 2nd Enoch describes them as gatekeepers and guards of the place of punishment. They have fierce faces, hold weapons in their hands, and carry out strict sentences. If the angels in the garden praise and serve, then the angels in this region carry the role of executing justice. They stand there as a sign that human wickedness will be judged, and that every deed hidden on earth will be brought before the order of the Lord. Enoch saw that place and shuddered. He had witnessed many strange things during his journey through the heavens, but the northern scene of the third heaven affected him in a very different way. This was not a wonder to admire. This was a scene of judgment that forces human beings to examine their own lives. Those brought to that place are not there because of ordinary weakness, but because they have lived by injustice, wickedness, and cruelty toward others. 2nd Enoch lists the groups of people who must enter this place of torment. They are those who insult God, those who practice sins against nature, those who use magic spells and sorcery to harm others, those who boast about their evil deeds, those who steal, those who lie, slander, envy, and nurture hatred, those who murder, those who seize the property of the poor to enrich themselves, those who have the ability to help the hungry but allow them to die in need, those who have clothing but strip the naked, those who turn their backs on the Creator and worship idols made by human hands. That list makes the moral nature of the third heaven very clear to the listener. The reward is for the merciful. The punishment is for the cruel. Eden is for those who feed the hungry. The region of punishment is for those who let the hungry die, while they themselves have the ability to help. The garden is for those who protect orphans and the wounded. The place of torment is for those who seize harm and use others as tools for gaining wealth. This contrast is powerful because it goes straight into everyday life. 2nd Enoch does not speak only about great sins in the palaces of kings or wars between nations. The text speaks about the actions of each person: stealing, lying, using sorcery, envying, murdering, exploiting the poor, abandoning the hungry, and worshiping idols. These things happen inside homes, in markets, in transactions, in family relationships, and in the way the strong treat the weak. This makes the third heaven a scale of justice. Enoch sees two outcomes placed side by side. One side is the place reserved for the righteous and merciful. The other side is the place reserved for those who live by wickedness and oppression. This entire heaven seems to be telling him that life on earth does not pass by without meaning. Human actions are remembered. Mercy is remembered. Cruelty is also remembered. A person may deceive other people, but he still stands before the judgment of the Lord. For this reason, the third heaven is even more shocking than its beauty. If Enoch had seen only Eden, he would have understood reward. If he had seen only the place of punishment, he would have understood judgment. But when both places appear in the same heaven, the message becomes far stronger. Life and torment stand close to each other to show that every path leads to an outcome. The righteous move toward Eden. Those who do evil move toward the place of punishment. The boundary between those two places is decided by the way human beings live before God. This is also what makes Second Enoch different from the way many modern people imagine things. Many people think heaven and the place of punishment lie in two completely distant worlds. But in Enoch's journey, the third heaven places them very close together. Eden is on one side, and the place of torment is in the north. Both belong to one heaven, and both are seen by Enoch during one stage of the journey. This creates the sense that God's justice is near specific and already prepared. Enoch understands that the world of God has order. The righteous have their portion. The wicked also have their place. The merciful are brought into the garden of life. The cruel are brought to the place where they face the consequences of their own deeds. That message strikes directly into the listener's heart. Every action on earth is moving toward a place somewhere in the order of the life to come. This is the part that haunted Enoch. He had seen the tree of life, the source of blessing, the fragrance, the sweet fruit, and the serving angels. Then immediately afterward, he saw fire ice chains, weapons, and angels carrying out punishment. His mind had to hold two opposite scenes at once. One scene showed what God has prepared for the righteous. The other showed what awaits those who use their lives to harm others. The third heaven, therefore, becomes a living sermon on justice. It does not need many explanations. The scene itself speaks. A person who steps into the garden will immediately understand the value of mercy. A person who looks toward the north will immediately understand the consequence of wickedness. Enoch was led through both places so that later he could tell his descendants, so they would know that life on earth has great meaning before the eyes of the Lord. Behind him was the fragrance of fruit, the songs of praise from the angels, and the sweet streams flowing from the roots of the tree of life. Before him was the cold, burning region of punishment filled with chains and the cries of souls who had lived in wickedness. Only one heaven, but two outcomes. Only one journey, but two warnings. Only one witness, yet he had to carry back to humanity both hope and the seriousness of judgment. What makes the third heaven memorable is the way it connects reward with moral responsibility. Eden is reserved for those who once lived with kindness. The place of torment is reserved for those who once trampled on the weak. One side is tied to bread given to the hungry, clothing given to the needy, and help given to orphans and the wounded. The other side is tied to theft, magic, murder, slander, idol worship, and the exploitation of the poor. This is a message very close to the moral teaching of the Bible. Love for God must go together with justice toward human beings. A person who worships God with the mouth while stealing from the poor, abandoning the hungry, and harming the weak is placing himself on the path of judgment. In the third heaven, Enoch saw this with his own eyes. He saw that the righteous have a place prepared for them. He saw that the wicked are brought to a place corresponding to what they have done. He saw that the justice of the Lord is not a distant idea, but a reality already arranged. This gives Enoch's journey great warning value. He was taken up to heaven not merely to satisfy curiosity about the heavenly levels. He was shown the order of the life to come so that human beings on earth would understand where the way they live today is leading them. Every act of mercy is moving toward Eden. Every act of cruelty is pulling the soul toward punishment. Clearly, this is a great message of warning to every generation. Human beings may live in this world in many different roles, rich or poor, strong or weak, famous or unnoticed. But before God, what is weighed is the way they treat others, the way they guard their hearts, and the way they walk before the one who created them. After seeing all of this, Enoch continued upward. The third heaven had given him a lesson he would never forget. Life and judgment stand closer together than human beings imagine. Eden and the place of punishment exist together in one heaven, like two answers from God to two ways of living on earth. The two angels urged him onward again. The journey still continued. Above the third heaven, Enoch was about to enter the fourth heaven, where the majestic astronomical phenomena are arranged, where he would see the chariots of the sun, the paths of the moon, and the way the order of the sky operates according to the command of the Most High. Leaving the life and death scale of the third step, the two messengers once again spread their wings wide and pulled Enoch upward into an overwhelmingly radiant space. As soon as he crossed the boundary of the fourth heaven, his eyes were immediately filled with brilliant light and terrible heat. This time the scene changed powerfully. When Enoch entered the fourth heaven, a majestic astronomical center opened before his eyes. This heaven was not like the garden of the third heaven, nor was it like the prison of the second heaven. It was like a place established to coordinate the rhythm of day-night months, seasons, and years. In the description of second Enoch, the fourth heaven is the place where the paths of the sun and the moon are set. Enoch saw movements following one another. He observed the paths, the revolutions, the wheels, the gates of entry and exit, the rising and descending rhythms, and the way everything was arranged according to the seasons. For human beings on earth, the sun simply rises in the morning and sets in the evening. The moon passes through the nights with its shape gradually changing. But in the fourth heaven, Enoch was brought behind the curtain of that order. He saw the sun like a great chariot. That chariot moved on its own wheels, continuously traveling at a speed that astonished Enoch. Second Enoch says it travels like the wind, by day and by night, passing through the appointed circuits. It has a path, a way of return eastern gates through which it appears, and western gates through which it descends. Each stage of its journey is tied to the months, seasons, days, and hours of the whole year. For ancient people, this image was very easy to understand. They looked up at the sky and saw the sun traveling along a steady arc. They saw that the harvests depended on that path. They knew that the times for sowing, reaping, raising livestock, traveling, holding festivals, and counting years and months all depended on the sun. Therefore, in ancient apocalyptic literature, the sun is often described as a chariot governed by the command of God. The fourth heaven therefore becomes the place where Enoch understands that time does not pass at random. Every morning has order. Every evening has its limit. Every season arrives in sequence. Every year ends and then opens into a new cycle. For human beings on earth, time often seems like a stream of days and months that simply keeps flowing. But before Enoch's eyes, time has a path, Gates' servant's measurement, and one who rules over it. Second Enoch also says, the sun's radiance is many times greater than the moon's. Enoch measures and compares their paths. This shows that he is not merely standing there in amazement. He's also being allowed to understand how the astronomical order operates. He is shown the measurements, the gates, the number of days, the number of hours, and the difference between the solar cycle and the lunar cycle. In the fourth heaven, the sun passes through gates. In the east, Enoch sees 6 great gates. The sun comes out through those gates during different parts of the year. These gates are connected to the changes of the seasons and the length of day and night. When the sun changes gates, the weather, the harvests, and the rhythm of human life on Earth also change with it. In the west, he sees the corresponding gates, where the sun descends according to the appointed number of days. This entire system is presented like a gigantic heavenly calendar. Each gate has its own role. Each path has its own appointed time. Each circuit has its own boundary. Each season is placed within a clear order. To listeners today, this description may sound very strange. But in the ancient world, astronomy and the calendar were not separated from religious life. People needed to know the time for planting, the time for harvesting, the time for festivals, the time of the new moon, and the time of the new year. Whoever understood the order of the sun and the moon understood the rhythm of life for the entire community. Therefore, when 2nd Enoch brings Enoch up to the 4th heaven, the text is showing him the foundation of the time by which humanity lives each day. Then Enoch sees the beings who travel with the chariot of the sun. 2nd Enoch calls them phoenixes and Chalkidri. They are described as extraordinary creatures with an appearance both majestic and difficult to imagine. The text says they have feet and tails like lions' heads, like crocodiles, bodies radiant with many colors, a size that is astonishingly great, and each one has 12 wings. They travel with the sun, carrying heat and cooling dew according to the command of God. Notably, the phoenixes and Chalkidri are not like ordinary birds. They belong to the heavenly world of ancient apocalyptic imagination. Their presence shows that the chariot of the sun does not travel alone. It is escorted, served, and coordinated by beings who obey the Lord. The heat of the sun and the dew that cools the earth are described as things that have bearers, managers, and servants who release them at the proper time. Everything is regulated by angels according to the command of the Most High. 2nd Enoch says that during the day, a very great number of angels travel with the sun. At night, that number decreases. There are 6 winged angels going before the wheels of the sun. There are 100 angels who kindle fire for the sun. When morning arrives, the serving company prepares the sun to give its light over the whole earth. That scene allows the listener to imagine a heavenly procession. Before the chariot are the 6 winged angels. Around it are the phoenixes and the Chalkidri. The serving angels carry out their appointed duties. The chariot of the sun passes through the appointed gate. The whole heaven trembles with song. Every morning, according to 2nd Enoch, the sun receives back its fiery crown. That crown is guarded in heaven and then given back when the sun enters the hour of its appearing. When the sun descends, that radiance is taken back again, allowing the earth to enter night and rest from the heat of the day. This is the great lesson Enoch recognizes. Days, months, seasons, and years all have order. The Creator places everything into its operating rhythm, and the angels serve within that order. For Enoch, this is an immense discovery. On Earth, human beings are used to seeing the sun rise and set, the moon wax and wane, and hot seasons and cold seasons follow one another. They view those things as natural parts of life. But when he enters the 4th heaven, Enoch sees that behind that familiar rhythm is a system arranged, guarded, and coordinated in every part. This also reveals a very interesting point in the history of ancient religion. 2nd Enoch is not the only tradition that imagines the sun as a power that must be governed. Many civilizations in both East and West have their own stories explaining why the sun must travel on the right path at the right time and within the right limit. In ancient China, there is a legend of 10 suns. According to that story, the 10 suns originally appeared in the sky one after another to warm the earth. But one day, all 10 appeared at once. The heat became unbearably severe. Rivers and lakes dried up, trees burned, and withered crops died, and human beings and all living creatures fell into misery. At that time, Hao Yi, the famous divine archer in Chinese mythology, was sent to save the world. He drew his bow and shot down 9 suns, leaving only one sun to continue shining and sustaining life. That story sounds very different from 2nd Enoch, but inside it, there is the same idea. If the sun moves outside its order, the world will suffer disaster. Life needs the sun, but it also needs the sun to be placed within limits. In Greece, people told stories about Helios. Helios is the sun god who drives the chariot of the sun each day from east to west. This image is very close to 2nd Enoch in the sense that the sun is understood as a chariot traveling on an appointed path. For the ancient Greeks, when Helios controlled the chariot, the world had daytime and its familiar rhythm of life. But Greek mythology also tells another warning story. Phaethon, the son of Helios, asked to drive the chariot of the sun for one day. When he took the reins, everything immediately fell into chaos. The chariot veered off its path. The earth was scorched. The sky was overturned. In the end, Zeus had to intervene to stop the disaster from spreading. The story of Phaethon is very significant. It shows that the Greeks also understood that the sun needs a worthy driver. When control falls into the hands of one who lacks the ability, the whole world suffers the consequences. A sun chariot that strays from its path can turn the source that nourishes life into disaster for human beings. In Mesopotamia, the land of the Tigris and Euphrates people knew Shamash or Utu in the Sumerian tradition. This was the sun god associated with justice and judgment. For the Babylonians and Assyrians, the sun saw everything on earth. So Shamash became the god who witnessed right and wrong, protected justice, and was connected with law. That image shows that ancient people did not see the sun only as the source of days and months, but also as a sign of moral order. These 3 traditions come from lands very far apart, but when placed side by side, they all point toward a very deep idea. The sun is the power that sustains the world, and that power is governed by higher divine beings, not simply by one natural phenomenon. The distinct point of 2nd Enoch lies in the way the text places this entire system under the authority of God. The sun, the moon, the heavenly gates, the phoenixes, the Chalkidri, and the angels all have their own duties within an order given from above. Therefore, the 4th heaven becomes a powerful affirmation that humanity's time lies in the hand of the Creator. Days, months, seasons, and years operate in order because He Himself preserves that order. After observing the path of the sun, Enoch is led to the system of the moon. The moon lies on a lower operating path and has its own cycle. 2nd Enoch describes it as also passing through gates moving from west to east, having days of fullness and days of waning, along with a system for calculating months that differs from the solar year. The text also speaks of the number of days in these 2 cycles, then points out the difference between the solar year and the lunar year. This detail shows that the 4th heaven is also where Enoch sees the foundation of calendar calculation. On Earth, farmers need to know the season for sowing seed and the season for harvest. Shepherds must recognize the time for breeding, the time to move the flock, and the time when the weather is about to change. Worshippers rely on the new moon, holy days, and festival seasons to maintain religious life. Kings also need a calendar to send armies, travel, collect taxes, build, and govern. All these things, which seem very ordinary, are tied to the sun and the moon. In the telling of 2nd Enoch, the 4th heaven is the place where that rhythm of life is placed in order. The astronomical gates open according to the correct season. The sun keeps the rhythm of days and years. The moon keeps the rhythm of months and sacred times. The angels serving around that system are like the keepers of heaven's calendar. Standing in that place, Enoch sees that human beings are far smaller than they usually think they are. On Earth, a person can make plans, build a house, form a family, plant, crops store wealth, and to speak about the future as though tomorrow were always in his own hands. But in the fourth heaven, Enoch sees that every day belongs to the order of God. The sun appears according to the portion assigned to it. The seasons arrive according to the gates that have been opened. A year ends when its circuit is complete. Human life therefore exists within a much greater frame of time. A poor man's day of labor, a family's harvest season, the reign of a king for 1 year, or an entire human life stretching across many decades, all take place inside the order that God is governing. The fourth heaven also resounds with the music of the angels. 2nd Enoch describes companies of angels serving the Lord with singing instruments and continual praise. That sound captivates Enoch because it surpasses every song he had ever known on earth. This is the song of service. The angels praise while serving the one who set the paths for the sun, the moon, the seasons, and the years. From here, the meaning of time in 2nd Enoch becomes deeper than ever. Time is not merely a number by which human beings count the days. It is part of worship. Each morning, the sun appears as an act of obedience. Each returning season is a reminder of the faithfulness of the Lord. Each lunar cycle that passes is a sign that order has been preserved. This is very important within the religious context of that ancient period. Many peoples around Israel connected the sun, the moon, and the stars with their own gods. They feared omens and viewed the sky as the place where powers determined fate. But in the Bible and in Jewish apocalyptic writings, the sun and moon are created things serving God. They have their paths because the Creator has appointed those paths for them. That entire place resembles a vast temple of creation where every movement becomes obedience and praise to the Lord. Then amid the songs of the angels, the journey continues again. The heat of the sun chariot gradually recedes behind him. The eastern and western gates, the wheels, the phoenixes, the chalkidri, and the system of the moon also slowly move beyond his sight. Enoch has seen the place where days and months are arranged. He has understood that time operates as sacred work. He has also realized that human beings live each day under an order greater than themselves. The two messengers continue to bring him up to the fifth heaven. There, Enoch will encounter a completely different scene. Gigantic hosts with a special fate, beings standing in silence, and a deeper memory of the rebellion that once shook the heavens. The fifth heaven, the giant host of the Grigori and the awakening hymn. Rising beyond the radiant heat of the time machine at the fourth step, the two messengers lifted Enoch into a dimension with an entirely different atmosphere. The fifth heaven opened into a silence so deep it felt suffocating. This place was the military encampment of a great army. Enoch looked around and saw a host so vast it was almost impossible to count. 2nd Enoch calls them the Grigori. This name is usually understood as the Watchers, a group of heavenly beings who stand among the ranks above. They have a human-like form, but their size far exceeds every stature Enoch had ever known. The text says they are even larger than the giants, the colossal figures preserved in ancient memory. That makes their appearance especially striking. This is a host with human-like form, yet belonging to a level far beyond humanity. They stand in great ranks. Before Enoch, one can imagine armies stretching across the immense expanse of the fifth heaven. Their bodies are towering. Their posture still carries the bearing of warriors, but their faces are withered, heavy, and sorrowful. Their lips are closed. The song of service that once belonged to this heaven has gone silent. The entire host seems to be standing inside a funeral procession with no end. A giant army like this should have made the space tremble with praise and the strength of service. But Enoch meets them in a state of silence. Beings whose size far surpasses the giants stand like those who have lost their direction. They still have their ranks. They still have their strength. They still have their position. But they have lost the spirit of service before the Lord. Enoch turns to the two messengers and asks why this heaven has become this way. It turns out, the truth behind this pain connects directly to the dark prison in the second heaven. According to 2nd Enoch, the Grigori in the fifth heaven have a direct connection with the group that left its proper place. Some among their ranks descended to earth, set foot on Mount Hermon, swore an oath together, and then entered the path of rebellion. From that fall, the giants were born, and the earth was pulled into an age of severe violence. Earlier in the second heaven, Enoch had seen the place of confinement reserved for the fallen angels. They were held in a state of waiting for judgment, grieving because the sentence had already come down upon them. Now, in the fifth heaven, Enoch meets the Grigori, who still stand in formation, but their minds are weighed down by that event. They are like those remaining in an encampment after a part of their own brothers have sinned and been taken away to face punishment. For that reason, the sorrow of the Grigori in the fifth heaven carries many layers of meaning. It is the pain of those who witnessed the collapse of their own ranks. It is grief over the fact that the Watchers who once stood within the Holy Order left the position assigned to them. It is the shame of a host whose very name means the Watchers, yet who had to see a portion of their own number break the very thing they were supposed to guard. And at a deeper level, it is the paralysis of those who allowed pain to replace duty. They mourn, but that mourning has pulled them away from service. They grieve, but their grief has slowly become silence. They stand in heaven, but worship has left their lips. The entire fifth heaven therefore resembles a place suspended between the memory of rebellion and the duty of the present. In rank, Enoch is far smaller than they are. In strength, he is completely beneath them. But in that moment, the man whom God has brought upward becomes the voice that awakens the entire army. Enoch understands that their sorrow has a reason, but their mission still remains. He speaks to them like a brother calling the weary back to their place. He reminds them that the rebels in the lower heaven have already received their portion of judgment. That sentence belongs to those who abandoned the Lord and broke their oath. But the Grigori, still standing in the fifth heaven, still have the opportunity to keep their appointed work before the Most High. Enoch tells them that they must return to service. He calls them to prepare the sacred rites before the Lord. He urges them to open their mouths and praise the Creator. He wants them to remember that the fall of one group of Watchers is not allowed to turn this entire heaven into a place where worship has stopped. This is one of the most valuable moments in the entire journey. It completely reverses what we often think. Until now, angels have always played the role of higher beings, the ones who guide and teach knowledge to humanity. But here in the fifth heaven, a small human being of flesh and bone stands up to awaken an entire divine army. Enoch firmly commands the giant host of the Grigori to cast aside their sentimentality and return to their true mission. Their duty is to lift their voices in praise to the Creator, not to stand frozen in sorrow, mourning those who chose the side of rebellion. The strong counsel of this mortal man immediately creates a shock. The entire army awakens and is fully persuaded. At once, 4 leaders raise great bronze trumpets to their lips. 4 trumpet blasts ring out brilliantly, tearing through the silent and suffocating atmosphere that has covered this place for so long. That resounding sound is like an immensely powerful call to assemble the ranks, officially restoring the greatest heroic hymn of the cosmos after a long period of being frozen. The 4 leaders of the Grigori step into position and carry out the role and mission God had entrusted to them before. They raise their trumpets. The trumpet sound spreads across the heaven. The giant ranks begin to stir. The silence dissolves, giving way to a new song. The scene at that moment is truly overwhelming. An army that once stood in sorrow begins to sing again. Closed lips open. Withered faces are awakened by sacred duty. Tens of thousands of Grigori warriors lift their voices together in praise to the Lord. Their song joins into one vast sound, both sorrowful and solemn, both like repentance and like a return to the office they had been given. 2nd Enoch describes that song rising before the Lord in a deeply moving tone. This shows that the hymn of the Grigori is not simply a song of victory. It is more like an awakening hymn. Within it is sorrow for those who fell. There is trembling before the justice of the Most High. There is the awakening of those who had been silent for far too long. And there is the resolve to return to the ministry of service. The fifth heaven, therefore, carries a lesson different from the previous heavens. The second heaven showed Enoch the consequence of rebellion. The third heaven showed him the reward and punishment prepared for human beings. The fourth heaven opened the order of time, the sun, the moon, and the seasons. By the fifth heaven, Enoch sees a deeper problem. Even those who still stand within the holy ranks can be paralyzed by sorrow. They have not abandoned their place like the watchers at Hermon, but they have allowed grief to prevent them from serving. And an unfinished office also needs to be awakened. This moment moves beyond the frame of a majestic theological event and becomes a mirror reflecting the inner life of each of us. The image of the giant army collapsed into silence recalls the harshest low notes in human life. Every one of us has walked through days like that, when we have had to witness the breaking of people we love, or when we have been wounded by the fall of our fellow human beings. That pain and sorrow can become so great that it freezes every flame of passion, makes us forget our own worth, causes us to withdraw into ourselves, and leaves time to pass in silence. Some people still have ability, strength, and position, but their hearts have stopped beating with the rhythm of devotion. But right in that dark moment, healing appears. Throughout the journey, Enoch has been only a small mortal man, standing silently and observing. Yet before the pain of these giants, he decides to step forward. He does not speak to condemn. He speaks to call them to rise again. He reminds them that pain only truly has meaning when it is transformed into strength to keep moving. Use those very wounds to rediscover your purpose, recover your dignity, and lift up the song that was always meant to belong to you. The four trumpet blasts that tear through the fifth heaven do not only awaken the army of the Grigori, they seem to rise up to awaken the very souls of humanity that have fallen asleep inside their wounds. The moment the entire space shines and trembles with the heroic hymn of worship brings a priceless message. The greatest revival does not always begin with a fiery battle. Sometimes it comes from a word of encouragement at the right moment. And from the moment we allow ourselves to release sorrow and choose to keep living in the most radiant way. After the Grigori lift their voices in song, the fifth heaven regains its rhythm of service. The four trumpet blasts have opened the way for the shared hymn. The ranks stand again in order. The sorrow remains as memory, but that memory has now been brought into worship. They remember the event at Hermon. They remember the fall of their brothers within the same ranks. But from now on, that memory becomes a warning, instead of a chain pulling them into silence. Enoch has completed his mission in this heaven. The two guiding messengers see that everything has moved in the right direction. They continue to lead him onward. Behind Enoch, the song of the Grigori still resounds. Before him, the journey opens again into a higher heaven. The sixth heaven is waiting. The sixth heaven, the headquarters that shapes all things and stores souls. The heroic hymn of the Grigori host gradually receded behind him. In the fifth heaven, Enoch had just witnessed a gigantic army step out of prolonged mourning. The warriors who had once stood motionless in sorrow had taken up their instruments again, lifted their voices in praise to the Creator, and rediscovered their sacred office. But the journey continued. The two guiding angels steadied their wings and brought Enoch up to a higher heaven. When the gate of the sixth heaven opened, he immediately sensed an entirely different atmosphere. This place carried the majesty of a royal court, the precision of a command center, and the solemnity of a place that always stands before the command of God. If the fifth heaven was like the encampment of giant warriors, then the sixth heaven appeared as the headquarters of the entire work of creation. Everything here operated in strict order. Enoch saw groups of high-ranking angels standing in their own ranks, each group responsible for one part of the world. They moved calmly, precisely, and in such harmony that even the smallest action felt as though it had been arranged in advance. Second Enoch describes this place as having 7 brigades of angels. Their beauty surpassed the familiar language of human beings. Their faces were radiant, solemn, and filled with wisdom. This was the kind of beauty that made Enoch realize he was standing before beings entrusted with an immense responsibility. They carried both the holiness of servants and the authority of those taking part in coordinating the order of heaven and earth. Yet what shook Enoch most deeply at this level was a function far more profound. This place was the sacred great library of the universe, preserving the complete memory of every living being who had ever walked upon the earth. The history of humanity below has always belonged to the strong. Empires carve their victories into stone dynasties, honor the conquerors, and human beings often remember only the wealthy or the powerful. But the heavenly chronicle in the 6th heaven records something entirely different. It records quiet actions, a poor person sharing the last piece of bread, or a kind word lifting up a soul sinking in despair. It protects the weak, the forgotten poor. And those with no voice who are oppressed always have a clear voice in the record of God. It preserves absolute transparency, evil thoughts and betrayals hidden with the greatest cunning. Beneath the cover of power, all leave clear traces before the judge. This recording system operates continually in order to build the foundation for judgment. This truth carries a staggering weight. It makes evildoers tremble because every sin is exposed. But at the same time, it plants a great seed of hope for the good and honest. Every effort to live with kindness, no matter how small and unnamed, carries priceless value before the Lord. It fully explains the justice of the 3rd heaven. The justice of the universe has memory, judgment, has records, and reward always has a solid foundation. At the center of that great administrative order, Enoch was immersed in the song of the angelic brigades. Unlike the intense awakening in the 5th heaven, the sound here rose gently, steadily, and majestically, like the heartbeat of a gigantic living heart. Here, responsibility and worship became one. The angels who govern nature and record souls serve with absolute devotion. Their greatest glory is obedience and the complete fulfillment of the work assigned to them. At this point, the idea of a world operating by chance collapsed completely. Enoch took a deep breath. The overwhelming scale of all things made him realize his own smallness, but it also brought a radiant awakening. Human beings on earth often live as though their lives are judged only by the people around them. But the 6th heaven affirms one truth: no life is forgotten before God. As the picture of the machinery governing all things came to a close, the atmosphere suddenly became strangely still. The 2 guiding messengers drew themselves in, showing the deepest reverence. Their eyes turned straight toward the next step. Before Enoch now stood the 7th heaven, the destination beyond every human limit, the place of the blazing throne, where every question about life would converge at the absolute center of the Most High. The 7th heaven, the blazing throne, and the supreme presence. After leaving the 6th heaven, Enoch came to the final limit of his journey. In the previous heaven, he had seen the headquarters of the order of creation. The brigades of high-ranking angels, the duties of governing seasons, years, rivers and seas, trees and fruits, living creatures, human souls, and the books that record the deeds of humanity before God. But the 7th heaven carries a completely different weight. This is the destination toward which all the previous heavens have been leading Enoch. The heavens below showed him different parts of the sacred order. The 7th heaven brings him to the center of that order, the throne of the Most High. The moment he reaches this boundary, the 2 guiding angels suddenly stop. They have traveled with Enoch through the heavens. They brought him through the place of confinement. For the fallen angels led him to Eden, showed him the place of punishment, brought him past the chariot of the sun, the system of the moon, the army of the Grigori, and the headquarters of the high-ranking angels. But at the threshold of the seventh heaven, their mission ends. The two messengers bow their heads in reverence. They tell Enoch that they are only permitted to bring him this far. From that moment on, Enoch must continue alone. Before this, Enoch always had someone to guide him. He had someone to explain support and carry him through places far beyond the experience of a human being. But as he approaches the highest place, he is placed into absolute solitude. The two angels withdraw. No wings remain ahead to shelter him. No voice of explanation remains to calm the fear in his heart. Enoch stands alone at the boundary of the seventh heaven. Before him is a realm of glory, too immense for a mortal body. Everything he had seen before the chariot of the sun, the six-winged angels, the phoenixes, the Chalkidri, the Grigori, and the seven brigades of angels in the sixth heaven, all become small before this sight. The seventh heaven is where the highest court of heaven is present. There Enoch sees the cherubim, the seraphim, the many-eyed heavenly beings, the ranks of mighty angels, and the beings standing around the throne in continual worship. They are present with a majesty that human beings can hardly imagine. Some have 6 wings. Some are full of eyes. Some stand around the throne like holy guardians. All of them are directed toward the one seated at the center. The sound in this place is also different from every heaven before it. In the 5th heaven, the song of the Grigori was like a heroic hymn of restoration. In the 6th heaven, the song of the angels was like the steady operating rhythm of creation. But in the 7th heaven, worship resounds like the confession of the entire heavenly court. It is solemn, powerful, continual, and directed toward the holiness of God. Enoch stands before that scene, and his whole body trembles. He is a righteous man. He walked with God on earth. He was chosen to see secrets humanity had never seen. But here every quality he possesses must give way to absolute reverence. Before the throne of the Most High, Enoch realizes the smallness of a human being made of flesh and bone. Then he sees the throne. That is the center of the 7th heaven. Every rank of angels is directed toward it. Every song returns to it. Every order Enoch has seen in the lower heavens begins from it. From that throne, time has its rhythm. The seasons have their limits. Rivers and seas have their courses. Human souls have their judgment, and all creation has its meaning. Enoch is completely overwhelmed. He falls face down. He bows low in reverence before God. And in that very moment, the voice of the Lord rises. He calls Enoch. That call is both majestic and full of mercy. It makes Enoch understand that he has been brought here by the will of God, not by his own curiosity or his own power. The Lord commands him to stand and leave fear behind. That command changes everything. Enoch, who had just been trembling before the throne, is now called by name by the Most High himself. A human being from the earth, who had just fallen face down in holy fear, is invited to stand before the presence of the Lord. After that, the Lord gives command to Michael. Michael the archangel comes near to Enoch. He lifts Enoch up from the ground and brings him into position before the Lord. That action is very important. Enoch enters the 7th heaven in fear, but he rises because of the command of the Lord and the hand of Michael. Then the process of transformation begins. The Lord commands Michael to remove Enoch's earthly garments. This image carries very deep meaning in 2nd Enoch. That garment represents the mortal condition, the weak body, the limited life, the nature belonging to dust, and the fragility of human beings. Michael removes that old garment from Enoch. Afterward, he anoints Enoch with holy oil, which the text describes as having a sweet fragrance and a radiance far beyond every perfume on earth. Its scent suggests purification, consecration, and glory from the Lord. This is the moment when Enoch is prepared to stand in the highest court of heaven. Michael clothes him in garments of glory. From a mortal man who had just fallen face down in trembling, Enoch is lifted into a new condition. The text says that he looks at himself and sees that he has become like one of the glorious beings standing before the Lord. This shows that the transformation is very deep. Enoch is still Enoch, but he has been consecrated so that he can receive things beyond the limits of earthly life. This moment is one of the most important points in 2nd Enoch. It shows that human beings must be prepared before entering the highest presence. Enoch does not enter the 7th heaven by his own strength. He is led, called by name, lifted up, stripped of the old garment, anointed, clothed in glory, and only then made ready to stand before the throne. This is also why the scene has a very clear ritual depth. It is like a consecration. Enoch is brought out of his former condition. He is anointed. He is clothed in new garments. He is placed before the Lord. From here, he is ready to receive the highest secrets about creation. That transformation makes Enoch a unique figure in the journey. In the previous heavens, he was an observer. In the 5th heaven, he became the one who awakened the Grigori. But in the 7th heaven, he himself is transformed. The journey through the heavens now reaches its deepest purpose, bringing Enoch before God, so that he may know the most primordial things of the universe. After being consecrated, Enoch stands upright before the throne. His first fear gives way to awakening. He has been touched by the mercy of the Lord. He has been lifted up by Michael. He has been clothed in garments of glory. And from that moment, he enters the most important part of the journey, listening to the secrets about the formation of all things. The 7th heaven, therefore, is both the summit of holy fear and the place of mercy. And from here, Enoch's story moves into a new chapter, the chapter of things that can only be known when God himself permits them to be opened. Especially in popular culture and in many ancient sources, human beings often know only the concept of the 7 heavens, as in the familiar expression, happy as if in the 7th heaven. Even the 2 angels who initially guided Enoch only had the authority to bring him to the 7th step. Yet the full manuscript of 2nd Enoch, the Long Recension, affirms that the universe has as many as 10 heavens. The 7th heaven is not the end, but the dividing boundary between the region of the administrative angels and the absolute dwelling place of the Most High. When Enoch reaches the 7th heaven, the 2 guiding angels must stop and depart. Enoch is left alone in fear. At that very moment, the Archangel Gabriel, or Michael depending on the manuscript variant, appears to personally bring him beyond the final limit and into the 3 most secret realms. The 8th heaven, Muzaloth, the supreme astronomical machine where the changes of the seasons and the constellations, the zodiac, are controlled. The 9th heaven, Kukhavim, the dwelling place of the stars and the rotation of the 12 great constellations. The 10th heaven, Aravoth, the absolute center of creation. This is the true place of the blazing throne of the Most High, where Enoch directly beholds the face of the Lord and is transformed into a transcendent being, Metatron. The journey from the 8th heaven to the 10th heaven is the true moment when Enoch steps beyond the limits of a mortal man and becomes the historian of the Creator. Are you ready for us to continue exploring the secret 8th step? The 8th heaven, Muzaloth, the supreme astronomical machine of the universe. After being brought before the throne of the Most High, Enoch had passed through the greatest turning point in his entire journey. Before that, he was still a human being led by angels through each heaven. But at the throne of the Lord, everything changed. Michael lifted him up by the command of God, removed his earthly garments, anointed him with holy oil, and clothed him in garments of glory. From that moment on, Enoch was prepared to enter the deeper part of the journey. He carried a consecrated form sufficient to continue advancing into heavens, far beyond the limits of ordinary human beings. The next destination was called Muzaloth. That name alone opens an entirely different world. Muzaloth is connected with seasons, drought, rain, and the 12 signs of the zodiac. Put more simply, this is where Second Enoch places the great systems behind the sky that human beings observe each night. In the fourth heaven, Enoch had already seen the sun and the moon operating according to their paths. He had seen the gates, the wheels, the cycles, the serving angels, and the way days and months were arranged. But here, in the eighth heaven, everything spread before his eyes was even greater than that. Here he saw how the constellations were set within the great order of heaven. For human beings on Earth, the stars are often only tiny points scattered across the night sky. The farmer looks at the stars to know the season. The traveler looks at the stars to find direction. Ancient priests watched the stars in order to establish the calendar of festivals. Kings asked sky watchers about omens, rainy seasons, dry seasons, good days, bad days, and the proper time to act. But Enoch stood in Muzaloth and saw that behind all those observations was a system already established. The 12 signs of the zodiac here serve as great markers in the turning of the year. They help divide the sky into sections, mark the changing of the seasons, and create a way for ancient human beings to read the order of time. To them, the sky was like a gigantic calendar stretched above their heads. Each constellation passing by each season, changing direction. Each period of drought or moist rain was connected to an operating rhythm that human beings had to learn to recognize. Muzaloth shows Enoch that rhythm from a higher level. This place appears like a vast astronomical center. The signs in the heavens are set in a circular order, moving with precision and connected to the great cycles of creation. Here time is also understood through seasons, rain, drought, the shifting of star signs and the way they influence life below on Earth. For ancient people, looking up at the sky was a matter of survival. They lived by the rainy season, the harvest season, the river, the pasture land, and the herd. If the rain arrived late, an entire region could fall into famine. If drought lasted too long, wells dried up the ground. Cracked livestock slowly died and food began to grow scarce. For that reason, the signs in heaven were always tied to very practical decisions: when to sow seed, when to harvest, when to move the herd, when to store food, and when to prepare for the dry season. This is why Muzaloth holds great meaning in Second Enoch. The eighth heaven places seasons, drought, rain, and the 12 signs of the zodiac inside a higher system. What human beings on Earth can observe only in fragments, Enoch is lifted up to see from its source. He sees that the cycles in the sky operate according to the order of the Creator, and that life on Earth is held within that rhythm. At Muzaloth, he understands that the night sky is not merely a random collection of distant points of light. It is presented as an order filled with meaning. The star signs appear at their appointed times. The seasons follow one another in a cycle. Drought and rain have their own rhythm. The entire world below lives in relationship with that order. Even so, Second Enoch draws a very clear boundary. The constellations have their place within the system, but they still belong to creation. They serve the order of the Lord. They help mark seasons and time. They allow human beings to recognize the rhythm of the year. Final authority still belongs to the Most High. This point helps distinguish the vision of Second Enoch from many ancient cultures around it. In Babylon, sky watchers developed a highly sophisticated system for tracking stars, planets' solar eclipses, lunar eclipses, and changes in the heavens. They believed those phenomena could signal events on Earth. From there, astrology became an important part of politics, religion, and court life. In Greece, the zodiac was also used to understand the positions of heavenly bodies, the seasons, and the structure of the sky. The Greeks developed increasingly complex astronomical models, both to observe and to explain the order of the universe. But in the Enochic flow, those signs lead the listener in a different direction. They are not raised up as the supreme power. They are placed in the hand of the one who created them. The eighth heaven therefore feels like a reminder. Human beings can read the sky, but the sky itself is obeying God. Enoch stands before Muzaloth and sees time in a wider way. In the fourth heaven, he had understood days and months. In the eighth heaven, he begins to understand greater cycles, seasons, years, drought, rain, the zodiac, and the signs that generations of human beings have used to measure the rhythm of their lives. A human life may last several decades. A dynasty may last several generations. A city may endure for many centuries. But the signs in the heavens move through cycles far beyond the lifespan of any single human being. When Enoch sees Muzaloth, it is as though he is placed before a heavenly calendar wider than every calendar of the kings below on earth. This makes him understand the limits of humanity more deeply. Human beings often measure time by things close to them. A workday, a harvest season, a year of age, a human lifetime. The reign of a king. But the eighth heaven shows that time has greater layers. Season follows season. Year follows year. The signs in the heavens continue to shift across many generations. The things human beings imagine to be great are still only a small part of the broader operating cycle of creation. Muzaloth also helps Enoch see the connection between heaven above and life below on earth. When the season changes, the farmer changes his work. When the rain comes, the earth is watered. When drought lasts long, the whole community must prepare. When the star signs appear according to the season, ancient people know the time for planting, moving, opening festivals, storing food, and adjusting life. For that reason, the eighth heaven does not speak only about stars that are very far away. It speaks of one supreme law. No cycle stands apart from the will of the Creator. That makes Muzaloth a very important part of Enoch's journey. It stands between the seventh heaven and the ninth heaven, like a transfer station of astronomical secrets. The seventh heaven brings him into the presence of the Lord. The eighth heaven shows him how the great cycles of the universe are placed in order. The ninth heaven is about to open the higher dwelling places of the star signs, bringing him closer to the final boundary before the deepest revelations. The ninth heaven, Kukhavim, the eternal dwelling realm of the stars and the 12 great constellations. Leaving behind the gigantic mechanical machine of Muzaloth, the archangel continued to lead Enoch through an endless veil of energy and into the ninth heaven called Kukhavim. This place opened into a dimension of absolute stillness, filled with a radiant primordial glory. If the eighth heaven is the gear system that governs time, then Kukhavim is the homeland, the eternal dwelling realm of every star in the universe. Enoch's sight was immediately filled with countless enormous mansions of light. Second Enoch reveals an astonishing truth. The glittering stars that humanity looks up to every night originally come from this very realm. Every star that exists here possesses a radiant form, a sacred identity, and a unique reigning position. They gather together into great families of light, obeying absolutely the arrangement of the Creator. Most prominent in that ocean of light is the presence of the 12 great constellations. They are not lifeless points of light scattered at random, but appear as 12 eternal pillars of energy, 12 gigantic thrones guarding the entire structure of the universe. Each constellation releases surging bands of energy with its own frequency and power, weaving together to maintain the balance of gravity, space, and time for all things in the lower levels. Thousands of years after Enoch's historic journey, the great civilizations beneath the earth, especially ancient Greece, looked up at the night sky and became fascinated with studying precisely these 12 pillars. From the limited viewpoint of mortals, the Greeks called this the zodiac and clothed it in magnificent epic tales. They tried to use human language and imagination to decode the overwhelmingly majestic powers they dimly sensed from the ninth heaven. The similarity between the cosmic originals and human mythology is astonishingly precise. At Kukhavim, Enoch witnessed those great archetypes with his own eyes. He saw a proud, fiery stream of energy always bursting forth to tear through the night, the force later symbolized by the Greeks as the golden-fleeced ram Ares. He stood before a mass of strength that was still firm and solid, like an immovable wall of space, the perfect original of the mighty Taurus. As Enoch passed by a band of light carrying supreme ruling authority, radiating a dazzling glory like a king governing the borders of the stars, it was the source that later formed the symbol of Leo. An energy system tasked with balancing light and darkness, maintaining the absolute harmony of the galaxy, was portrayed on Earth as the scales of Libra. And deep within multi-dimensional spirals, the mysterious cold and sharp energy band, carrying the universe's continual power of rebirth, was named by humanity as Scorpio. All the myths about gods, heroes, demigods, and monsters in the sky are in truth humanity's desperate yet reverent attempt to imagine the form of the machinery of creation. Human beings of flesh and bone cannot see through to the fiery angelic brigades guarding the ninth heaven, so they use their own cultures to name them. When Enoch witnessed this primordial scene, his mind received an exceedingly profound understanding. From the earth below, human beings often attach the stars to personal destinies, using them to measure the fortune and misfortune of human life. But at Kukhavim, their true nature is gloriously exposed. The radiant symbols worshipped by the Greeks in full are loyal creations of one Most High God. They shine through absolute obedience. Every star and every constellation carries its own distinct mission of illumination, just as every human being is born with a complete purpose in the design of the universe. The operation of the 12 constellations affirms one truth. The destiny of humanity rests in the hand of the Creator, not in the random movement of the stars. The silent hymn of billions of stars at Kukhavim creates a dense layer of glory woven together into a vast screen. This shield of light serves to protect the most secret center of all creation. Behind that radiant veil, the supreme step, the 10th heaven Aravoth, is waiting. This is the place of the blazing throne, the center of all things, and the greatest destination of the entire journey. The 10th heaven, Aravoth, the blazing throne, and the supreme logic of creation. When the veil of light in the realm of Kukhavim is torn open, Enoch officially steps into Aravoth, the 10th heaven, the most secret center, and the final step of the entire universe. Every physical concept, every idea of space and time, and every gigantic astronomical machine in the 9 heavens below completely disappears. Here there are no stars, no operation of the zodiac, and no movement of day and night. Aravoth exists independently as an eternal realm illuminated by one single source of energy, the presence of the Most High. The scene in Aravoth exceeds the limits of what a mortal consciousness can endure. At the center stands a blazing throne radiating light of such intense power that even the highest angels, the 6-winged seraphim and the mighty cherubim, must cover their faces with their wings and dare not look directly upon it. Second Enoch describes the appearance of the Creator as being like iron melted in an unquenchable fire, sending out dazzling sparks and endless heat. At this very center of destruction and glory, the Most High gives a staggering command. He orders the archangel Michael to anoint Enoch with holy oil and give him the garment of primordial light. In a moment that shakes all things, the mortal covering of flesh and bone completely dissolves. Enoch is reborn, expanded in size and energy, and officially becomes Metatron, the highest archangel, the one who bears the title, the voice of the Creator, and the great scribe of the universe. So the question is, why Enoch? The event in which a mortal passes beyond billions of angels to stand beside the blazing throne is not a random act of favor. from the microcosmic and macrocosmic viewpoint of the structure of the universe. This is an absolutely logical argument of the Creator. First, angels, no matter how powerful they are born in light. They know perfection and holiness, but they never truly understand the feeling of limitation. They do not know hunger. They do not know bodily pain. They do not understand the temptation of desire, and they certainly do not know what it feels like to struggle through darkness in search of truth. Enoch, meanwhile, is a human being. He represents a living being who rises from the dust, passing through the full struggle of the earthly world. The fact that the Most High chooses a mortal to become the recorder of the books of the universe affirms one principle: the one who governs and evaluates human history must be someone who fully understands the nature of humanity. Second, angels serve the Lord because that is their built-in nature, except for those who have fallen. The obedience of angels is self-evident, but the obedience of human beings is a choice. Enoch lived in a world filled with sin, the age before the great flood. Yet he used his own free will to choose the path of righteousness. The ascension of Enoch is the most forceful proof that when human free will is directed toward goodness, its power crosses every sacred boundary, even becoming greater than the instinct of an angel. Third, throughout the journey from the first heaven to the ninth heaven, Enoch has seen everything from the brutal torment of the fallen angels, the stillness of the archives of souls, to the mechanical operation of the sun and the constellations. He carries the perspective of a creature from the lowest depths of the universe, combined with all the cosmic knowledge he has just received, and stands before the Creator. By transforming Enoch into Metatron, the Most High creates a perfect bridge, closing the full circuit of creation, beginning from the dust, yet reaching the highest peak of existence by touching the throne. Aravoth is not merely a heaven. It is the final answer to the purpose of human existence. The image of Enoch, transformed into a radiant archangel in the 10th heaven, sends out a staggering declaration: this universe was not created for human beings to become slaves to it. Human beings were created to learn to experience, to overcome themselves, and finally to be lifted up so they may govern all the stars together with the Creator. All 10 heavens are a great school, and Enoch is the first to graduate and stand in the highest position of space and time. At this point, you have surely decoded the question for yourself. Why would a book containing such vast, logical, and complete knowledge be forbidden by the religious authorities of that time and mercilessly removed from the official biblical system? The answer does not lie in the authenticity of the text, but in the threat of power. Second, Enoch reveals a truth that is far too free and radiant. Human beings do not need any intermediary institution in order to reach the Creator. The book delivers an extremely firm and clear message as long as an individual holds firmly to pure faith, abandons every evil character trait, lets go of greed, selfishness, and envy, loves wholeheartedly, and reaches out to help fellow human beings. That person has every opportunity to be saved by the Most High. The journey of Enoch is the absolute proof of this. He was not a priest. He did not belong to any theocratic system. He was simply a righteous man living in the middle of a world filled with sin. And yet he was lifted up to the highest positions, passing beyond every angel to stand right beside the blazing throne. Look directly at the real context of the centuries before us. At that time, religious institutions served as the only bridge between mortals and the Most High. Want to ask God for forgiveness? You had to confess through the clergy. Want to secure a place in heaven? You had to strictly follow demanding rituals, pay taxes, or even spend money to buy certificates of absolution. But the message of the Book of Enoch completely shatters that monopoly system. The book offers a truth so simple that it makes every class, from kings to the poor, equal. No intermediary is needed. If a poor farmer only needs to live uprightly, let go of greed, harm no one, and reach out to help the weak in order to be received by God, just as God chose Enoch, then why would that person need to bow down to or depend on any institution? No elaborate ritual or money is needed. If the key to passing through the heavens lies in the way we treat one another every day, then the power of the religious elite to distribute salvation immediately becomes meaningless. That is the most naked reason this book was removed and hidden. The Book of Enoch was not forbidden because its content was false. It was forbidden because it placed the entire freedom of faith back into the hands of human beings. It took away the strongest tool of control held by the ruling powers of that time, fear. When a person realizes that he can fully determine his own spiritual destiny through an honest way of life, he becomes free. And a community of free human beings, no longer afraid, no longer dependent, is exactly what ruling powers fear most. That is the absolute reason. The Book of Enoch was labeled pseudepigrapha and buried in darkness for thousands of years. The book was not forbidden because it was wrong. It was forbidden because it contains a truth too deeply liberating. The key that opens the door to the 10 heavens has never been held by any institution of power. It has always been placed in the hands and choices of every human being. As we close this unimaginable journey through the 10 heavens, the image of Enoch rising from a small mortal man to become a radiant archangel in eternal space leaves us with a deep sense of awe. The entire book of 2nd Enoch is not merely a mythological record, but a great handwritten letter sent back from the past, carrying answers to the greatest anxieties of human life. Looking back over this entire journey, we recognize one radiant truth. The boundless universe is not cold or indifferent. From the rotation of the stars, the turning of the 4 seasons, to each seed sprouting beneath the soil, everything is operating within a perfect order under the careful supervision of the divine beings and the Creator. And more important than anything else, within that gigantic and endless machine, human life is not reduced to the fate of a meaningless grain of sand. The story of Enoch is the strongest affirmation of the value of free will and the power of pure faith. True faith in the Most High has never been blind submission, elaborate rituals, or fear of being punished by some intermediary power. True faith is a quiet compass with absolute guiding power already placed inside the heart of each one of us. This apocryphal book sends humanity a message with the power to heal and awaken every age whenever you quietly reach out to help someone weak. Remember that the entire 6th heaven is carefully recording that act with the deepest respect. Whenever you firmly set aside selfishness and greed in order to preserve goodness in a world filled with so much falling away, you are shining no less brightly than the 12 great constellations guarding the 9th heaven. The divine does not dwell in some distant place, forcing human beings to search in exhaustion or buy favor with material things. The divine is present in every heartbeat of compassion, in every moment when we rise above the animal part of ourselves and choose to live fully as human beings. No one is left behind. No sincere effort toward goodness is forgotten. Every pain you endure, every quiet effort to rise again already has a glory waiting to answer it on the highest steps of righteousness. So continue walking through this life with your head held high. Continue loving, continue forgiving, and keep your heart clear. Because at the very end of all life, the only key that opens the way through the 10 heavens, the key that allows us to touch eternity, has never belonged to earthly power. It rests completely in the way you choose to be a good human being. Thank you for walking with me through this great journey. Hold firmly to your own light, because perhaps each one of us is already writing a chronicle of our own in the high heavens above.